Hey everybody, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, it's theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me. Today I got a question, and for those of you who don't know how this works, you send me a question. I will do a video. If I think the question's good, I'll always reply to you, alright? And if I forget, if it's been a few days, send me a reminder. Sometimes I do forget. Just send me another one and I will. I always reply, but I don't always do a video unless I think it's a good question and I think others can benefit from it. So today's comes from a research site and they just texted me, so you can do that too. 949-415-6256. They texted me. They're a research site. They said, can you do a video on how to contact a physician to do research? Maybe you already have. I have. I've done tons, but I'll do another one. I have a couple doctors' practices that I want to contact. I have had good success just looking for another point of view. I'm guessing you have done a lot in the last couple of years. I have. Actually, probably our next webinar where we'll go in depth into this will be this month in June. Okay, June 2016. So definitely. So can you give me a summary of what to explain to them, the nuts and bolts? So most physicians are intrigued with the idea of doing research. However, many, if not most, who are research naive, they underestimate the work that is required and the amount of space that is required for them to have. Now, I know your particular situation because we've actually met. I know the context. So you have a pretty big research clinic, standalone research site, and you would like these physicians to come to your site and do the studies, then they can go back to their private practice. So in this case, in your case, space is not an issue. Square footage is not an issue because you have your own clinic. The issue would be scheduling and coordinating the doctor's time and schedule, make sure that their calendars are lined up with when you need them to come into the office. The best way to do this, first of all, if you're a brand new site and you're talking to an investigator about doing one study, right, they're not going to have to come in that often, right? They're going to have to come in for the site selection visit, for the site initiation visit, when you're screening patients, when you're randomizing patients, and then when you're seeing patients for that study. And then they need to come, ideally they should come for every monitor visit, but you can get away with every other monitor visit, right? If the PI schedule is really tight, you can get away with that. So what you want to tell them, obviously you want to tell them you want to have at least 1,600 square feet. You need someone to do the regulatory paperwork for you. Your job as a research site owner is to let them know and put them at ease that, hey, there are a lot of regulatory requirements, there's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of data entry. We'll take care of all of that for you. You just need to maintain adequate PI oversight, which essentially means watching out for the safety of the study participants. There's no doctor that's going to argue that that's not important. So that is their main job, is to make sure that the protocol is being followed. You've got to let them know that you've done all these studies and let them know how many studies you've managed. Or if you're a new site, you need to let them know that you're going to be the one spending 80 hours a week making sure that the protocol is being followed and that good clinical practice is being followed. They just need to maintain oversight as far as looking at labs and making sure that safety assessments are done and making sure that there's no side effects. And if there are any AEs or SAEs, that they're taking the appropriate action for the study participants, right, as far as their safety is concerned. So most PIs, they're interested, but they feel like they're possibly risking their license should something go wrong. And it's true, their license is on the line. The research site might be getting most of the benefits as far as getting the payments and getting paid and getting revenue and all that stuff. But the PI, if something goes wrong, the FDA comes after them, the sponsor comes after them. So you want to let them know that they get indemnification. As long as they follow the protocol, they're not going to get sued, right? There's a clause in there called indemnification. And if you don't have it, or if you're not negotiating that in your budgets or contracts, make sure that you are. Another issue that you guys are both going to have to discuss is enrolling subjects. So the best way to get repeat business in this industry is by enrolling subjects for your trials. I know it sounds weird, but doing what you promised is what's going to get you more business. So a lot of these studies are getting complex, or if they have been complex for quite some time now. You got to make sure that the patients that the physicians have in their database and in their private practice can be utilized for the studies, right? So you got to make sure that they're aware of that, and you got to work out a system, and if it's not in your SOP, put it in there, how you're going to pre-screen subjects, how are you going to get these subjects in your trials, because without them getting in the trials, nobody makes money, including the doctor. Then you discuss payment. What I like to do, if it's a physician who actually has some research experience, I will offer them 20% of the gross payment from every single study visit that I get. So anytime I get a check, I'll write that PI 20% gross, 20% of the gross amount, not the net. You got to absorb those costs. That's your business. You've got to eat those costs up. 20% of the gross of the check to the PI. If they're not as experienced, you can get away with 8 to 15, but maybe still do 20 if you really have a good feel for this PI and you feel like you really need them and that they can do a good job enrolling subjects. So anywhere from 8 to 20% of the gross. If they want to partner with you, that's a whole nother story. We're going to cover that in the webinar. I think that pretty much covers the most important things, the patient safety, regulatory, all the paperwork. You can kind of give them an overview of how a typical study works as far as doing the feasibility surveys, then having the site selection visit, then the SIV, then enrolling subjects, then having the closeout visits, what their responsibilities are, talk to them about PI oversight. And it's just a numbers game. I mean, if the problem is you don't have enough doctors to reach out to, you literally got to take an hour or two every day. If it's something that's that important to you, take an hour or two every day. Don't call because you're just going to get receptionists. Show up, right? Show up at their offices. Try to get 5 minutes with a doctor. Just tell them you're here to present some clinical trial information to see if they're interested. Most are going to say no, like 90%, and that's fine. You're after those 10% that are going to be interested. And if you do that every day, guaranteed you're not going to go long without having a PI. And then it's just a matter of presenting what studies you have, and you're always going to need more PIs, especially if you're a multi-therapeutic research clinic. Like you do different specialties, you're going to come across a study where you don't have a PI that fits that specialty, or a PI that has patients for that. So you're going to need to constantly go out and look for more PIs. This is what I would do. These are the things I would discuss. Let them know that their medical malpractice insurance will cover research. But the first line of defense is that letter of indemnification from the sponsor. And oftentimes the medical malpractice insurance provider for that physician will need to get notified that they're doing research and then they'll probably charge them more, but you can absorb that cost as the research site. So you can let the doctor know any extra cost you'll get as far as malpractice. Your premium will cover the difference, right? That's what I've done in the past. Hopefully that helps. Let me know if you need some more specifics. Dan from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Thanks for watching and good luck.